Welcome to this new episode of the podcast of the Academy for Football Culture. I am Chris de Wulf, Professor of Linguistics at the University of Antwerp.
And I am Alexander van Herpe, PhD student in Linguistics, also at the University of Antwerp. In this episode, we will be talking about the terminology of football. Chris, we know that football comes from England and that we use quite a few English terms in the sport. But now that the Men's World Cup is taking place in North America, we are confronted with another name for the sport, soccer instead of football. Why do those Americans always have to do things differently?
Well, the Americans who say soccer are actually using a very British word. We have to go back to the second half of the 19th century. In England, several ball sports had developed that were all football-like. Besides what we call football, there was also rugby football, and that was the kind of football that originated at a posh boarding school in the town of Rugby. The other football, with a regular round ball, was called association football. Since in 1863, the Football Association was founded to regulate football as we know it. And in Oxford, they later came up with affectionate abbreviations to keep those two kinds of football apart. Rugby football was shortened to rugger, and association football became a soccer. And meanwhile, also in the late 19th century, a new sport emerged in America that was a mixture of football and rugby, and the Americans simply started calling that football. We know that over here as American football. But the other form of football that is more familiar to us also became popular there, and to distinguish it from the American sport, they adopted the Oxford abbreviation soccer, later soccer.
So Oxford. So the word soccer even has posh origins. There are quite a few other terms from higher circles too, actually, or at least from the legal sphere.
You mean like arbiter in Dutch?
Yes, indeed. For instance, from Latin arbiter, meaning a witness or arbitrator.
And we borrowed that from French into Dutch long before football was even a thing, already in the 13th century. And referee, that must be Latin too, right?
Absolutely. It contains the Latin referre, meaning to bring back or to report. Think also of French référer, to refer, which in a legal context quickly came to mean something like to reprimand or to correct. It was the English, however, who added the ending "e" to the verb, for the person doing the reprimanding, the referee.
And to remain in the Latin legal sphere, penalty. That's a general English word for an imposed punishment, but in football we know it as a penalty kick. And the English took it from the French word pénalité, and that too is of course Latin in origin from pena, meaning punishment.
Yes, and that punishment comes from an offense in the penalty area. Often a wild tackle. But that does not sound Latin to me, does it?
No, it doesn't. And tackle may even come from Dutch, but it could also be Low German. It comes from our Middle Dutch word taken, meaning to grab, which we still know in takelen, to grab or lift with a crane. And in Middle English it was borrowed as a word for a gripping device or other equipment. And in the 19th century they pulled that word out of the hat again to indicate in sports that an opponent is grabbed or brought down.
Pulled out of the hat?
Yes, so a kind of hat trick, surely?
Well, in sports that's not quite the same thing.
Oh?
It's not a kind of magic trick, but a real hat. And it does not come from football, but from cricket. When in 1858 the bowler Stephenson took 3 wickets in a row, his fans pooled their money to buy him a hat as a reward. In football, hat-trick was then adopted to stand for an extraordinary sportive performance, scoring 3 times by the same player in the same game. By the way, another typically English word, hooligan. Do you ever act like a hooligan while watching a football match, Chris?
No, fortunately not. That is certainly one of the less pleasant sides of football. But what is more fun, though, is the etymology of the word hooligan. In the late 19th century London, there is said to have been an Irish family that terrorized the streets, in particular a certain Patrick Houlihan, or at least that is how it was reported in newspapers. That Irish surname definitely does exist, by the way, but Patrick Hooligan should probably be seen as an archetype, a common, typical name for someone with certain characteristics, like a Karen. and in this case, it stands for a vandal or a criminal, a bit of typecasting by the English. But not everything hails from English. We also have words such as libero, that must be Italian.
That's right. And it again comes from Latin and basically just means free. In Italian, people sometimes speak of a battitore libero, roughly translated as a free bird. In football, it refers to the free defender behind the man-marking line, who does not have a direct opponent of his own, but is the last man there to stop waves of attack. In possession, he often also plays an important role in the build-up. That position on the pitch was used very often, especially in earlier times.
And German, that contributes its share too, doesn't it? With German football being so important and all those German football coaches. I know gegenpressing exists, but beyond that it's Greek to me.
Indeed, Chris. Gegen is a German prefix meaning against, while press, from Latin premere, with the perfect stem press, means to push. So it's kind of a playing style in which you defend aggressively and apply pressure forward.
Oh, I see. And one I do know from German is the Schwalbe, that's a swallow, and it refers to someone who deliberately drops themselves, like a swallow descending, not exactly fair play.
No, and a panna is not exactly fair play either.
Panna from panna cotta?
No, not Italian this time, but Surinamese. It means little gate. You can easily get the idea. A player kicks the ball through another player's open legs.
Ah, very nice. And just as exotic as beartoer.
Yeah, exactly, but probably not yet familiar to most football fans. But it's used to refer to a goalkeeper who comes far out of his goal but misses the ball so that the opponent can score in an empty goal. I once heard Erling Haaland use it, because it comes from Norway, right?
Yes, it does. It's Norwegian for picking berries, going on a berry picking trip. In Norway, the expression is used for an outing where you are away and are obviously not where you're actually supposed to be.
Yes, fortunately our own Thibaut Courtois has not gone berry picking too often then. Just as unfortunate for a goalkeeper is conceding an Olympic goal.
Ooh, and what's that?
That term has been around in football for about 100 years. In 1924, the Argentinian Cesareo Onzari scored that way against Uruguay, who were Olympic champions at the time. It was very spectacular. He scored directly from a corner kick. Since then, such a goal has been called an Olympic goal.
And do you have any more terms like that connected to a specific player?
Yes, football is full of them. The Czech Antonín Panenka was the first to score a penalty with a cheeky chip down the middle of the goal. The Frenchman Zinedine Zidane is the inventor of the dribbling pirouette. And every year, the best goal of the year wins the Puskás Award, named after the Hungarian Ferenc Puskás and his great footballing past. All these terms will undoubtedly ring a bell with every football fan.
And all those terms refer to a particular move or an action or a way of playing?
Exactly. And there are many more. A lot of football jargon comes not only from English, but also from Romance languages. Just think of catenaccio, for instance.
What's that, Alexander?
It's Italian for doorbolt. In football, it means a very defensive style of play, so everything is locked up. This tactic is used often in Italy.
Aha, so bad at confrontation. Like pipoqueiro, that comes from Brazilian Portuguese and it means popcorn seller. It refers to someone who goes back and forth from highs to lows and is often used to refer to an important player in the team who fails to deliver in the big moments.
I see, I didn't know that. I do know rabona, which literally means tail in Spanish. It is a move where you play the ball behind your standing leg instead of in front of it, which perhaps makes it look as if you're playing the ball with your tail. Whether you're actually going to win matches with it is another question.
And who do you think is going to win this tournament, Alexander?
Argentina have a little demigod running around who has mastered all the tricks we have listed above, so I'm putting my money on them. Although the Belgians are also still in the tournament, as long as the Frenchmen don't win. What do you think, Chris?
Well, whoever puts their best foot forward.
Universiteit Antwerpen. Bepaal mee de toekomst.